Where have you been, Shauna? Well, it's a long story. Today's soap is going to be another Columbo themed one. It might not be an easy one to guess because this is a very small thing that happens in the episode. But as usual, I'm not going to tell you the inspiration from the episode until we cut the soap. We're going to have some special ingredients added today, such as kale and clay, sugar and salt, coffee and coffee grounds, and mica powder. The mica powder is a blue of unknownness. And the fragrance we are using is called Seldemer. So like seldomer, more seldom. This is some kind of an ocean scent or something. I don't know. To me, it smells kind of cologne-ish. It's kind of masculine, but also kind of resort-ish. I'll get more specific on the specifics of what it smells like later, because I'm going to look it up to help you. So, let's go make this Death Lends a Hand mystery soap. Alrighty, let's see what we're going to do today. Here is the fragrance oil mixed with kale and clay. Yes, I'm doing a voiceover today because actually one of the deterrents for my soap making is I don't ever feel like making a video, ever. So I figured, maybe I just won't talk. I'll just make the soap, focus on making my soap, and fill in the gaps later, which I don't mind this so bad. So, based on Death Lends a Hand, is it? Yes. One of the greatest Columbo episodes, in my opinion. I'd rate it 5 out of 5 Columbo cigars. Starring the great Robert Culp. On the right there, we have the coffee lye water. Pouring that in. I also forgot to mention that the oils, when we very first started, I had already added the salt and sugar to the oils. Typically, you would dissolve both of those in the water before you add the lye. You sure don't want to add it after the lye has been added to the water, because then you get some crazy chemical business. For this batch, it's just in the oil, so it won't be totally dissolved, and that's okay because it'll just be the tiniest bit of exfoliation for you there. Well, the fragrance oil, Sel de Mer. Here's a description from Candle Science. A salty ocean breeze with a hint of mystique. Sel de Mer fragrance oil bottles its namesake, a complex, mineral-rich sea salt, bordering on a spa fragrance. Cardamom and orange peel top notes balance a rich heart of sea salt resting on an aquatic base of palm, light musk, and amber. There's a lot of words there. And here's a little more information. This fragrance is infused with essential oils like cardamom, clove, and orange. Yeah, the top notes are cardamom, orange peel. The middle note is sea salt. And the base is palm, amber, and light musk. So maybe that helps you get an idea of what this fragrance oil smells like if you know what any of that smells like. All right, so let's add a little bit of soap to this morning's coffee grounds. Yes, the coffee was left over from this morning, and these grounds are already brewed coffee grounds. So with my design, which I think is going to be a really big challenge for you to figure out before I tell you, is I'm first going to pour in the coffee ground uncolored soap batter. First, I'm going to stir it a whole bunch because I really need it to set up. I wanted to have 2 layers in this soap. And this is layer number 1. And here we go. Coffee grounds in the soap mold. Moving on to our next coloring. Let's pour some soap batter into a separate container. That soap batter I'm going to leave uncolored. And then the main soap batter, we're going to color with this blue. And we're going to put this much. This is the amount. Now stick blending it to decide if this is the blue that I want, or if I want to add any more mica. And I think this is the blue that I want. I'm satisfied enough with this. Now, let's take our uncolored batter. And what we're going to do today is pour some in the 4 invisible corners of a circle so that we hopefully get a cool little swirl when we pour it into the mold. And I use the spatula to break the fall a little bit, because if I just poured it in, my coffee ground soap batter is not set up enough to be able to break the fall of a pour. So this is to make it a little more gentle, hoping that the blue will sit on top, which you can see still the coffee ground batter is moving, but it should work out anyway. This is a slower little technique. I'm not typically that interested in making intricate designs, like, at all. I have no interest in that. And this is even pushing my limits a little bit. I don't really like this slowness and waiting. I just want to pour the soap. So I go ahead and figure, well, I got the coffee ground batter covered, so let's just finish the pour here. Then we bang out the bubbles on the counter here and clean up our edges. And then after waiting a little while, maybe 5 minutes, I decided to put a little, I suppose maybe you could call it a wave or something, in the top instead of swirls today. I would have liked it to be more set up than this, but I was tired of waiting. I wanted to move on. And that's that. So let's go. How about we check out the cutting of this mysterious Death on the Hand soap. So as usual, this is the next day. Not even 24 hours. It doesn't take 24 hours unless you use a lot of liquid in your recipe. And the loaf of soap unmolded extremely easily. Using salt helps a lot in that area too. Salt makes a harder bar. Sugar makes a more bubbly bar. And here we go. Have you guessed the theme yet? Changing the angle for a more enjoyable soap cutting experience. First, we always cut off the edge, and this edge piece turns into 2 sample sizes. All orders get a sample size. And I try to make sure the sample in the order is not a soap that you purchased. So what do you think about this? What could it be? Here's our first full bar. Does it look like maybe a beach? Well, yes, it's supposed to. The reference from Death on the Hand I'm using here is that moment before the murder when the actress Pat Crowley, who plays Mrs. Lenore Kennicott, trespasses Mr. Brimmer's home, played by Robert Culp. And she doesn't blackmail him, but she certainly threatens him. She threatens him with basically destroying his career and possibly ending up with a sentence, maybe. She doesn't say that, but it's possibly implied. But before she gets into her little I'm so invincible spiel, she says, "I've been walking on the beach for hours, thinking."
I've been walking on the beach for hours, thinking.
And I always thought that was funny, because with all of her hours of thinking on the beach, she never thought, maybe I should not trespass, break into someone's home, and then threaten them. But that's what she did. And she did not deserve to be murdered, and it was an accident. So Mr. Brimmer also didn't think she needed to be murdered. But all her provoking, especially to a man who has a very short fuse, she just got a swift punch in the face, it looks like. But later we learned it's actually supposed to be a backhand because his ring marks her face.
Could be a ring.
A ring of... You mean a finger ring, this kind of ring?
Yeah, something like that.
I originally wanted to make my design Robert Culp's glasses, the glasses scene, but I couldn't find my clear melt and pour because I would want to use clear melt and pour for that. I think that would be pretty cool. So once I find that, I am going to remake my Deathlands a Hand soap to have a second version, and it will be Robert Culp's glasses because that's kind of the iconic scene from that episode because you're just like, whoa. I think it's awesome. It's awful dark in here, isn't it? Did you guess it? Probably not, right? Yeah, that was a little a small reference, not your typical reference for Deathlands a Hand. But that's just what I came up with. That's just the way it goes. See the Columbo stamp? All my Columbo themed soaps will have a Columbo stamp, but there will also be my logo stamp. It's so dark in here. I know. Sorry. It's early. Early. 7 o'clock. That's not that early, but it's 7 o'clock. So, I'm a broken record on my apologies for not making soap videos. My Etsy shop was very successful. Those soaps shaped like little lemons sold out the first day. So I have actually made more. I don't know if you really want me making continual soaps shaped like little lemon soap videos, right? You probably don't. But I have made 2 more batches of soaps shaped like little lemons, and they'll be available in the shop in 6 weeks. 4 little lemons equals 1 bar of soap in weight. So that's why when you buy soaps shaped like little lemons, you get 4 little lemon-shaped soaps. Thank you to my patrons who are still here. I will display their beautiful names right now.